Hey, beautiful. How are you, sis? This is the 30th episode. I know. I can't believe we made it here. Oh, you are listening to the Africana Woman podcast. I am your host, Chulu. Usually, I would be in conversation with an Africana woman, but today we're switching it up. I am going to do a solo episode. Hey, now listen. This is way out of my comfort zone, but I hope you will give me grace and enjoy this episode. So, this podcast first aired in September 2020. After 9 episodes, I took a 3-month hiatus. And in that period, I wasn't even sure if I was going to get the podcast up again. I was going through a lot emotionally, financially, and mentally. And let me tell you, brown looking stuff had hit the fan. So to get to 30 episodes is quite an emotional milestone for me. The privilege to be the conduit of these women's stories is something I do not take lightly. I know what it is like to lose your voice, to feel powerless, to feel isolated. When I was raped, my power was stripped away from me and my voice was snatched away. I retreated into the darkest corners of my mind, swimming in a sea of guilt and shame, until therapy made me able to function in society again. But what I didn't realize was that healing is a journey that doesn't happen overnight. So instead of embracing the journey, I became a functioning addict. And my drug of choice was work. I worked 24/7 from Monday to Sunday. I was thin as a stick and I would starve myself. And it's no surprise I burnt out twice. Then depression snuck in like a thief in the night, and then very rudely invited anxiety into my life too. Girl, I was a mess. I looked great on the outside, but inside I was dying. I tried to tell people about it, but they silenced me, saying I should be grateful for what I already have. But I knew there was something missing. There was something more. So I made it a mission to turn my life around. And 3 things saved my life. I found community, and that shattered the isolation. I went back to therapy, and that gave me my power back. And the last thing, I told my story, and my voice was restored. So I honor all the women that have come on the Africana Woman mic to share their stories. I know it's not easy. I also know their stories could save a life. Their stories can be the catalyst for necessary conversations. Their voices can influence the way our culture evolves. So to me, this work is sacred. Elishiba, Kanya, Annie, Lumba, Muma, Paula, Rochelle, Sandra, Chilava, Anusha, Lisa, Yosola, Juliana, Vui, Carolyn, Yuna, Timmy, Lengwe, Natasha, Wangu, Lynette, Kako, Luvunga, Vanessa, and Donna. Thank you. I say it with all my heart. Thank you for trusting me, and thank you for the gift of your voice. I love you dearly. To you, dear listener, This would not be possible without you. So thank you for tuning in week after week. I am always amazed by the stats. And I must give a shout out to my Kenyan listeners. You guys absolutely rock. I just love it. But to be honest, you are all amazing. I mean, when I'm looking at the stats, I see, someone is listening from Japan or Hungary, and I'm like, who is that? And it just blows my mind of how far reaching these stories go. And I cannot say thank you enough for taking time out of your day to listen. And can you believe that was just my intro? I mean, have you ever been to a church where the pastor has been talking for an hour and then they're like, oh, let me start the sermon now. And everybody's looking at each other like, what was he doing like all this time? So I've just pulled that on you. Okay. So seriously, I do want to leave you with some inspirational message, right? And I've been thinking about what can I say? What can I talk about on this 30th episode? Now, many of you have heard me say this phrase, or you've seen it on my posts or in the blog, and it is know your roots, grow your purpose. So I wanted to take time today to actually explain what it means. If you haven't heard what it means before, then you're in for a treat. Oddly enough, I've been told that I seem to be well adjusted despite what I've been through. And the truth is, I have a lot of shitty days and I cry a lot. But funny enough, that is actually a good thing because in my past, I would suppress my emotions and pretend they did not exist. Yeah, until they spilled out as depression and anxiety. So now I allow myself to be vulnerable with myself and with others. And I also allow myself to feel my emotions. Guys, it's a game changer. But to add to that, my secret weapon has been know your roots, grow your purpose. So I want to break that down for you. Okay. And the word know is actually an acronym for knowledge, nourish, obedience, and weakness. And then the roots they are what keep you anchored and keep you from falling over, especially when you're faced with external opposition. So when you think of the analogy of a tree, the roots are the mechanism through which the tree is nourished. They are the mechanism that holds the tree up and keeps it upright, right? So there's such an important part of that structure that is the tree. So now let me break down know. Okay? So, knowledge. As a believer, I believe it's so important that everybody really begins to understand what it is they actually believe. Now, for me, it doesn't matter what religion you choose or, what faith you have or what you believe in. I just find it fundamental that it's important for you to really, really know without a doubt what it is that you're actually believing in, right? So I will give myself as an example, and I am a Christian. And, when I look at the Christian faith, so many times you find that people don't actually, read the Bible for themselves. They don't actually have a personal relationship with their creator. Yes, they could have been born into the Christian faith, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have then taken that extra step to say, may I have a personal relationship with God, right? You find that people don't understand that the three parts, that is God, Christ, and the Spirit, all have different voices. And because we don't have those personal relationships with them, we can't even discern their voices. So when I say that you should know what you believe in, I think it's so fundamental for us to really take it upon ourselves and become intentional about going into scriptures and reading it for ourselves and not always relying on others to interpret it for you. Because if you actually read the scripture, you would know that the Spirit is the one that helps you discern what is written in the holy text, right? And it's not necessarily what a man or woman said on a pulpit. And, so many times, I know for myself, the way that I grew up, I used to think that, my grandmother was a woman of great faith. So, I'd have exams, whether it's my grade 12 exams or anything. And I would call my grandmother up and I'd say, Mama B, please pray for me. I really want to pass these exams. And I had this thing where I thought, her prayers were more powerful than mine. And he would listen to her more than he'd listen to me. But the reality is that we both had the same access to him, but I just hadn't yet matured and actually said that I want to be closer to God. So, instead of relying on the faith of your parents and grandparents or your spouse or whoever, has a deeper faith, why is it that you haven't yet explored what it actually means to be in personal relationship with your creator? Now, I do believe that whatever faith you have, most faiths, I'll just say 90% of faiths, have a positive way of wanting us to move through life, right? The golden rule is something that, it literally is across all faiths, to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And if we know that our faith is something that calls us to be better people, then why would we not draw closer to it? So for me, knowledge is really about having that deeper understanding about what it is you have actually been called to do. Who and whose are you? Because when I look at whose I am, I understand that my God is a God that loves and adores me, that created me so unique that I do not have to be a cheap imitation of somebody else. He is a God that sent me here with a purpose that I am to fulfill. And that purpose can only be done by me in the way that I have been uniquely created to do. So I don't spend so much time looking at what other people are doing and trying to steal other people's ideas, but I lean into what the Spirit is telling me to do. And I trust that whatever I've been called to do has a deeper meaning and purpose, and is really not necessarily something that will bless me, but will bless others. So again, when I say no, please, please, whatever faith you are, go into the scripture for yourself. Go and understand what it actually says. Don't just be looking at, just because you're signed up on a few Instagram accounts of famous preachers, and you get that inspirational quote here and there, and you think that's enough. No, darling. I need you to go to the Word, understand it, read it, and choose to actually pursue your maker, pursue what it is that you believe in. So then when I talk about nourish is about really, first of all, acknowledging that you are a tripartite being. So you've got your physical body, you've got your mind, and then you've got your spirit. So all of these bodies need to be nourished. But so much of the time, we spend all our focus on nourishing our physical bodies. So we want to have that cute waist, that beach body. We want to just, have the fabulous glow and all of those wonderful things that we've been told are standards of beauty. And that's all that we focus on. And yet you have a malnourished soul. So your mind and your soul, they don't feed on, food, but they do have a specific diet that comes to them through what we hear, what we listen to. All these things are feeding our mind and our soul. And even if you are not intentional about what you are feeding it, they're still consuming unconsciously. So when you look at the things that you expose yourself to, are they really helping you? What is the thing that plays on your radio in your car when you just turn on your car? What's on your radio? Is it life-giving? When you turn on the TV, or if the TV's been on the whole day, is it playing news 24/7? And we all know news is just negativity over and over and over again. Why are you exposing yourself to that? What are you reading? Who are the accounts you are following on social media? What is it that you are allowing to sink deep into your mind to affect your soul? Choose to be intentional about how you actually feed every single part of your bodies. What are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your soul? What are you feeding your physical body? That is what nourishment is about. Then when we talk about operate in obedience, as I mentioned before, in my faith, I know that I have been called to this earth for a purpose. And the Spirit is always speaking to us. And God is always inviting us to Listen to what he says. You know, the basis of our faith as Christians is one of the ways that the way that we worship is being in obedience of what God has asked you to do. And I can assure you, a lot of people are always saying, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know where to find my purpose. How do I know what my purpose is? And I know that on a very, sometimes even subconscious level, you actually already know what your purpose is. Your purpose isn't outside of you, your purpose is within, and you have to grow it. You have to acknowledge it. And the Spirit will always be speaking to you and inviting you to do something. He gives you instructions. The problem is that we are too distracted, or we are afraid to actually do what He has instructed us to do. Because yes, we can see the big picture, but we are afraid of what's in between. Now, the funny thing about God, he will give you a vision, but he won't tell you all those little bitty, the little bitty bobs in between. And I mean, when I look at my life and the journey that I've been through, there've been a lot of bumps along the way. And if God had shown me all of that, I might have said, no way. Not me, God, no way. But when you operate in obedience, that is your way of worshiping who your creator is. And when you operate in obedience, that is when the next step is revealed to you. Scripture says that he shall be a light unto your feet, but you have to be willing to take that first step into the darkness. And just that act of obedience will then light up the path on the journey that you are meant to go. So stop making excuses, circumstantial excuses. Oh, I have a child, so I can't do this. Yes, I know God has called me to do this, but I can't do it because right now is just not the right time. I don't have the resources. I don't have all of these different things, just giving excuses as you're going along. Be obedient. Operate in obedience. Which brings me to weakness. Now, I know that so many times we want to think that everything that we have done and how far that we have come is by our own power. But the reality is, when I am weak, that is when he is strong. At some point, we have to let God put the super in our natural. So, when you understand that you can only do so much in your power, then you have to surrender yourself to allow God to work and operate. Allow him to show his greatness, and for you to then be able to take all the glory back to him. That is what it means to be weak. Weakness is not a negative thing. Weakness is just you acknowledging that there is a higher power that is working for your good, that is going to do something that you couldn't even dream of, that is going to open doors that you never thought could be opened for you. But when you try to do everything in your own power, honey, you don't have an endless supply of power, honey. You're going to run out. You're going to burn out. You have to tap into the infinite source of power to be able to keep going. And another thing I'd like to say about weakness and in turn failure, a lot of times we have just made this word failure and as a negative thing, and it's not a negative thing. Failure is actually a learning point. It is the thing that you are supposed to actually be happy that it happened, because you will learn what not to do. You will learn what to do, where to step, who to trust, who to go to, who to call. It is something that you can use to your advantage. The problem is when we fail, we haven't been taught to get up straight away. Instead, we sit in the failure and then we get stuck there. But I'm telling you today, just because you failed once does not mean it's over. That was just a lesson, my darling. Get up, try again, analyze what happened, learn, adapt, innovate. Do not get stuck there. That is not where you are meant to be. So now, once you understand that not everything can work in your power, but it is through that greater power, you're actually gonna go right back to know, because then you will begin to seek the knowledge of who is the greater power. And then the process starts again. So when I say know your roots, grow your purpose, I think it's so fundamental that you should really have a deep understanding of who is it? Who is it that actually, or what is it that actually keeps you strong, keeps you grounded? Because it's not if you will face opposition, it's just when. But what is it that you're going to hold on to? What are the roots that will keep you standing strong whenever that opposition comes to blow your way? And knowing that you have a purpose here on earth, my love, once you know the greatness that is within you, there is no stopping you pursuing your purpose and growing it. And for me, it's a daily, daily, daily pursuit that just gives me so much joy. You know, I know there was a time that I felt so hollow, but now that I know what my purpose is, I am just so happy. I'm so full. I can't even explain it really. You know, to be honest, right now as I'm speaking, I'm currently self-isolating due to exposure to a certain virus we won't name. And I posted a picture the other day of me smiling, and I posted it on Instagram. And the caption said, "I hope you have something to smile about today." And my sister sent me a message saying, "You are a very happy isolator." And the truth is, I really am happy. And I'm happy because I know my purpose and I'm growing it. There's just something about that gives you an extra glow. So I hope this message blessed you. And I know the statement, know your roots, grow your purpose, has really been something that has really anchored me in my own life and me in just pursuing my happiness and my growth as an individual. So I hope it will help you too. And thank you so much for celebrating this 30th episode with me. If you listen to this, please just drop me a line on Instagram and just say, you heard this episode and just tell me what you thought about it. Yeah. So we at Africana Woman, I always have, I always close out the conversations with a few questions. So I thought, I guess I will do the same today and ask myself the questions that I always ask the guests. So here we go. So the first question is, what are you rooted to? I am rooted to peace. A peace that goes beyond all understanding. That even when I am in a storm, I am calm because I know whose I am and that He is always protecting me and working all things for my good. So I'm rooted to peace. The second question. What are my favorite ways to nourish my mind, my body, and my soul? Well, let's see. So for my spirit, I have to say it's being still. I know many people enjoy noise, but when I turn everything off and sit in silence, I can hear my thoughts so clearly. And when I seek the Spirit's wisdom, the answer is in a form of a feeling of peace. So being still for me is something that I have to do daily. Then for my body, girl, my body is a temple, y'all. I am just so particular about what goes in my body. I don't drink alcohol. I'm a vegetarian. Like I'm just so mindful, about what I put in my mouth. And I love to walk. I'm not much of an intense cardio type person, so oh well. But walking is my jam. And then for my mind, I am a podcast junkie. I am not ashamed of my game. Like I'm gonna say it. I love podcasts. I love reading, but what I realized is that I hate reading like biographies and informational books. They just bore me. I'm more of I love to read funny, foolish, romantic comedies. That's just amazing. So when I actually want to learn things and just nourish my mind, I consume educative and inspirational content by listening. And that's why I love podcasts. I mean, you will find me in a grocery store with headphones on, and I'm probably listening to a podcast. Like I just do it everywhere. It's a bit ridiculous. So, number 3, do I have a weakness that has now become my superpower? So, I was told that I ask too many questions. In the past, I've been told that, and it's been said to me so many times And, people would say things like, what's wrong with you? You ask so many questions. Is this an interrogation? Like, what is this? Are you a cop? And I was like, oh, okay. I'm a bit weird, innit? So I decided to keep quiet and retreated within myself. But having found podcasting, and not just listening to it, but being a podcaster myself, I must say that it has been such a blessing and a relief. I mean, there is a whole profession where I can ask questions and it's absolutely normal. Like, how amazing is that? uh, so, number 4, what do I know for sure? I know that love is the strongest force on this earth. Love transcends race and any other demographic that is weaponized. Love knows no boundaries, nor is it bound by time. Love can be the blessing you receive today because your grandmother prayed for you over 20 years ago. True love is unconditional. If we could all lean a little bit more into that unwavering, unconditional love, I think the world would be a better place all around. So this is it, you guys. I did a solo episode. Oh my God. I was just like, I've been so nervous. I really do hope you enjoyed this. And hey, I have to mention, we have a new website. It is gorgeous. Oh my goodness. The team has done amazing work to just get this up and running. And it's, you need to check it out. It's africanawoman.com, and you will find everything right at your fingertips. And I mean everything: the blog, the podcast, the Visionaries, the events, and so much more. Listen, if nothing else, I want you to go to the website so as you can pick up your copy of the Africana Woman Journal. And we made it especially just for you. So go check it out, africanawoman.com. You will love it. And just tell me what you think of it, okay? So my playground is Instagram. You guys know that. Please drop me a line. I always respond. And the funny thing is, people write to me and then I respond and then they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't think you respond. I'm like, I always respond and I say this all the time. So drop me a line. You know what? I love hearing from you guys. I think I'm just so grateful and I'm so honored that you reach out. So of course I'm going to respond. Now I'll catch you on the next episode. Until next time, I want you to know your roots, grow your purpose. This has been a production of Ulendo Creative Media. You can find out more about their services at ulendocreative.com.